Today in our School Matters series, we are answering questions from parents as kids head back to school. We're going to go over everything from mask wearing to helping students manage stress. Right now, COVID cases are surging among children. More than 180,000 new cases were reported last week alone, and that is a four-fold increase from just a month ago. Our senior medical correspondent, Dr. Tara Narula, and psychologist and CBS News contributor Lisa Damour join us now for more. Good morning to both of you. Tara,
good morning.
At the table with us. So let's begin with you. We've got a viewer question from Rita Marie, who would like to know what is the best mask for children to wear, and what is your advice for choosing a mask in general for students?
Well, let's just start off by being clear that both the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics are recommending universal masking in schools. So yes, for many parents, on their shopping list for supplies this year are masks. The best mask, most experts will say, is the one that your child will wear and the one that fits them well. So getting them involved in that choice, picking out the colors and styles they like, or letting them decorate it is always a good thing. When you're picking out the type, you want to pick one that has multiple layers of material, in particular at least 2 layers. You can hold it up to the sun and make sure that you can't see light through it. A surgical mask is a good option. And some parents may feel more comfortable with those kid-sized KN95s, although for the child that may be uncomfortable, and it's probably not necessary. When you're looking for what else to choose, you want to choose one that has a nose wire, because that kind of fits nicely around their face, and the ear loop, so you can adjust it so it fits snugly. You want to make sure you're washing it frequently if it's not disposable, and definitely pack more than one, because my children, I know, have lost theirs or they've dropped on the floor. So,
but no bandanas.
I've noticed some parents have put almost like an elastic around the back to keep it on the kid's neck.
Like glasses.
Yes,
almost.
exactly.
Great idea. But kids have been really great about wearing masks. I got to be honest, better than many adults.
Yeah, we're all adjusting to it. Lisa, if a child's feeling nervous, what do you think parents should do to make them feel a little better?
Well, always it is the case that kids take their cues from us about what they should be nervous about and how nervous they should be. So if they're nervous about wearing a mask, we want to be really matter-of-fact about it and just say, you know, you're going to wear a mask so that you feel safe at school. And when you feel safe, then you can focus on your learning and focus on enjoying your friends. And if they're nervous about going back to school, what we can remember is that kids are always tense during back-to-school time. There, is always a lot of change. Change brings about stress. They've got new teachers, they've got new classmates, they've got new routines. And so the best thing we can do is to help them express all of their worries and then to reassure them, to say, as soon as you get into the swing of things, this will all make sense, your questions will be answered, and you will feel better.
Hey, Lisa, I just have one follow-up for you. I mean, kids pick up on disagreements among adults, and so they know that there is a certain percentage of adults who are saying don't wear a mask, and they don't want their kids to get vaccinated, they don't want their kids to follow the guidelines. What do you say to kids who are picking up on that and wondering what's going on here?
I think we can say a couple of things. One is that we can say, this is what we are learning from physicians about how best to keep you safe, and we're going to follow that guidance. The other thing I think we should do is to prepare kids who go to schools where masks are optional, to prepare them for the possibility that other kids may ask questions. And here we can give them a few options to use depending on the situation. They might say, I just feel more comfortable wearing a mask. Or we can bear in mind, it's a lot to ask a kid to wear a mask all day and defend that choice. And so we can tell them, just kind of cut them a break. We can say to them, feel free to tell your friends, yeah, it's a drag. It's something my parents are making me do.
Yeah. Tara, this is not the first year, sadly, that we've been sending kids to school in a pandemic. What have doctors learned about keeping kids safe in the classroom?
Well, we've learned so much since March of 2020 when all of this started. I think one big thing is that schools are not really the primary drivers of outbreaks. Schools are more of the barometer of what's going on in the community in terms of transmission. But the second big lesson is layering. Layering preventive measures works. It's effective. And by that, I mean vaccinating kids who are eligible and all the adults around the kids, teachers, staff, parents, masking, as we've talked about, physical distance, so 3 feet or more. Proper ventilation or good ventilation in schools is key. And then we talked about this last week, but rapid, frequent testing, both of kids who have symptoms, but also asymptomatic, particularly if there's high levels of transmission. You want to be testing like once a week in schools. We've seen this work in universities in the past year. And then finally, keeping kids home when they're sick. And schools really need to be flexible with their policies, looking at what's happening in the community, what the science says, and adapting their policies accordingly.
And you know, now the cases with kids are going up. You know, when this first started, you didn't have to worry so much about the kids. Now you do. What concerns you most about that? Why is that happening?
Absolutely. Well, we're at this inflection point where kids are going back to school. We have Delta, which is so much more contagious. And really, we have so many kids who still remain unvaccinated. So it's not surprising that we're going to see this increase in hospitalizations. But what's concerning is that this rise in infections means that we have kids who are now at risk potentially for MIS-C, kids who may develop long COVID. We have
What's MIS-C? What is that?
the multi-system inflammatory condition that we've seen in over about 4,000 kids in this country develop. We also have concern for the fact that more variants can develop as the virus mutates because it's spreading. Kids can transmit to others. And then lastly, we are overwhelming or have the potential to overwhelm our hospital system. There have been so many reports we've talked about of pediatric ICUs in this country being filled up. How did we get to this point? There was an article I read last night by 2 pediatricians who said, listen, our kids have sacrificed so much for us. We need to step up as the adults and prioritize their health and do the right thing.
Yeah. Lisa and Tara, you guys are great individually. Together, this has been terrific. I think really valuable information. Thank you both very much.